Hey everyone, in this video we are comparing the two tier 8 premium flamethrower tanks, Soldier as well as Senjutsu. Both are tier 8s. There are also tech tree version available which has flamethrower if you don't want to get a premium tank, and that is the TVPVTU. It has flamethrower. But what are the key aspects when you're looking for a flamethrower tank? And this is my opinion. First of all, for any flamethrower tank, if you're planning to play it, the flamethrower is better if it's a secondary weapon, and secondly, or the most important, that the flame cannon should be on the turret. The Tech Tree TVPVTU, its flamethrower is on the hull, very difficult to aim because you have to move your hull, and that's like a fixed turret tank, and it's also lower, it's not on your turret, so you get the height disadvantage as well as you don't have the rotation, the turret rotation for your flame. And that's what the limitation of TVPVTU is as far as the flamethrower is concerned. So now let's look at the first premium here, Soldier. This is your proper flamethrower tank. What that means is it has the best flamethrower gun, but that does not mean it is the best tank. Because flamethrower is something you can't actively try to use. You have to wait for the opportunities to present itself and then use the flame in those situations. But comparing the stats of the flame, so this tank has 16 tick damage with 8 module damage and 100 clip in the flamethrower, as well as the other tank Senjutsu has 12 damage with 6 module damage and 50 clip. And Soldier also has 262 meters of flame range as opposed to around 146 in Senjutsu. So if you're only comparing the flame, Soldier obviously dominates, as it also has 12 degrees of gun depression as opposed to 5. But as I said earlier, that you can't actively try to use the flame, as you'll end up losing HP. You have to wait for the opportunity to present itself, and in most situations it won't happen again, or very common, because you need to have a tank that's either not paying attention to you as well as it's close to you, so that for example, let's say you're rushing a tank with another tank and that tank pushes and the enemy is looking at that second tank that pushed, and then you can just take your time and fire the flame and burn the tank. And if it does get set on fire, which it does as well, as long as you're not running fire extinguisher, you will also be you rack up damage quickly, especially if they have no armor. But even the tank that do have armor do end up burning or losing HP. Not as much though. But a lot of players do run fire extinguisher, and I think fire extinguisher, when they use it, you can't burn them again. So there is that as well. And most players that are not very experienced, or like average players, they prefer to run fire extinguisher. So average person will have your repair kit, medkit, and fire extinguisher. But if like very good players, they opt for food instead of fire extinguisher. But the chances are, if you set someone on fire, they will have fire extinguisher. And that's where this tank has limitation, as not only will you not be able to, I guess, use your flamethrower as a secondary gun, because it's this shell, it's the primary shell. And then if they have the fire extinguisher, then it's kind of limited. It does have the better range, right? Better range, better gun depression, slightly more, 100 more HP. But flamethrower has another limitation, which is the exposure time. Now if I'm farming, for example, I'm farming here, my exposure time is like 1 second. I peek, fire, back. But in flamethrower, it takes forever. I have to expose myself for 5 seconds, or however long the flame is on, and I'll ended up taking damage. And that's why in this situation I won't be able to use it. And in this game I'm actually not able to use the flamethrower at all on this tank, even though this is, as far as the flamethrower specifically is concerned, is the best tank. But the other thing with the tank is the secondary, or the premium shell, is heat. So only 258 premium pen on heat rounds, as opposed to 330 of Senjutsu with this flamethrower as a secondary weapon. So if you are comfortable with that, the heat does have faster shell velocity, by the way. It is 1200 as opposed to Senjutsu's less than 1000. But 258 when you're facing tier 10s, not the best. So you have to, definitely go for weak spots, and even then you might not end up penning them. It doesn't have AP, or sorry, the third shell is AP with even lower pen. But if I have to pick one, I would go for Senjutsu because it is a lower profile, it is a medium, so I don't have to expose myself. It is quick compared to this tank, so I can quickly get around and use my flamethrower because it's a secondary. So even though it is a weaker flamethrower, because I have the mobility and distance is not as much of a factor because it's about the exposure time as well as if you have to be in that position, right? Most of the time you'll use flamethrower is when you are very close to enemy, and we'll see that in this game. And then I'm in Senjutsu with Malinovka. The previous game I still ended up with decent damage, but as I said, the opportunity just didn't present itself. And the more you try to use the flamethrower, you'll end up costing your health. And this is the reason I like Senjutsu, because I'm less hesitant to use flamethrower. In other tanks, I'll be like, okay, I have to switch to my first shell. That would mean if someone gets spotted at a distance, I won't be able to quickly shoot at him as a flamethrower. And flamethrower takes, like, they are slow shell velocity, it takes forever to reach. But in this tank, since it'll always loaded, I just get to use it more often. The tank's also faster, solid turret, 330 pen, not a problem against tier 10 as well. So Malinovka got a little bit aggressive. And again, I want to stress it again, if you want to feel the pure flamethrower capability, then Soldier is the tank. But if you want consistency and more enjoyment, then this is the tank. Like, flamethrower in general aren't, like, they're not something very strong mechanic. It's not a strong mechanic. It just could be fun at times. It could be annoying at times. But in terms of reliability, it is not consistent. So if you are, if you want to kind of get to feel like how strong a flamethrower can be, that's the Soldier. If you just want to see how they work, again, there is a tech tree version, TVPVTU, has a flamethrower as well. And if you kind of want the best of both worlds, then Senjutsu, or nothing gets better than Senjutsu, and you will see now. So obviously I have the heat loaded, the heat 330 AP is also strong, 201. I think the gun is very similar to the Object 416, and here what you see, the i7 is coming in hot and heavy because he see a premium tank, he wants to kill me. Pen a shot, I kind of backed up so he doesn't end up ramming me as I will die. I put a heat shot into him, put another heat, and now it's the time for flame. If I was in Soldier, I would have kept shooting the heat shell and would not be able to use the flame, but because this tank has a secondary weapon, I was not hesitant to use the flamethrower as well. And again, burn i7, burn Dracarys, right? It is very satisfying when you do burn someone that is YOLOing you, and having secondary weapon, just, you don't have to sacrifice your DPM. So as soon as I finished i7, who only managed to pen me once, my team did help me. There's another tank, E75. Now he wants to do the same thing because it worked so well for i7, and Hawk 12 is joining him. Pen a shot on the lower plate of E5. Again, I tried to retreat. Soapy Rocks didn't let me retreat very well, and I kind of used E75 to hide from Hawk. However, Hawk gets around, pens me, E75 pen me. I do burn him a little bit and then take him out of the game. I set flamethrower as I wanted to keep my shell for the Hawk as E75 had low health. But I missed the shot on Hawk, burned the Hawk as well. Now he's tracked, unable to pen me, and took him out of the game. And as you can see, you kind of have to wait for the opportunity to present itself, like in this situation. And it was fun to use that, especially when someone's just, all they want is to kill you, but then you have a secret weapon or a secondary weapon that can set them on fire, burn their module damage, like their crew ends up dying, and that's when your crew dies, right? That's what happens. Whenever you use flamethrower, the most common thing that will happen is the crew will end up dying. That means your bloom will be bigger, your reload will be longer, and you'll just have more time to use your primary gun to deal more damage. And now just moving forward, putting some standard shots to Yak. I do realize there's an Iron Rain, and I was hoping maybe I'll spot him later on and might be able to use the flame again. But at this time, just farming, doing consistent damage as much as I can. I could have used the flame here. It's just, as you can see, they're not out of range, but it just they're not really effective unless you're right next to the person. At least for me, that's the case. You have to be like right close to us, hugging them like when the guys were pushing me, or probably like 30-40 meters. That's the best. The tank, as I said, mobile, can rotate quickly. Not soldier is not that slow either. Setup for both the tanks is listed in description. The tanks, however, are expensive, 10,000 plus. I don't recommend for an average player to spend gold on tier rates, as you don't really make silver these days as effectively. Gold was a better option, as well as it's just cheaper to buy season pass. That's what I recommend. And but yeah, if you are into flamethrowers, you really want this tank, or you want to enjoy the mechanic, then you can definitely go for Senjutsu. That's my preference. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.